Hey guys, Sauniche here with some Heroes of the Storm action for you. Once again, this is going to be on Dragonshire. Seems like every single game I've played lately has been on this map. So, it leads me to think that Blizzard's testing something on it. I'm going to be playing Tyrael on this one. Let's take a look at our teams. We have Tyrael, Rhaegar, Stitches, Sergeant Hammer, and Vala versus Zagara, Tychus, ETC, Tyrael, and Sergeant Hammer. So we should have a bit of an advantage here. We do have a better support than the enemy team. The only damage negation that they have is ETC and Tyrael, whereas for our team we have Tyrael, we have Rhaegar, we have Stitches, who can heal himself up quite well. My guess is both Sergeant Hammers are going to be getting the Vampiric Assault at level 4, so they'll be able to self-heal pretty well. Let me see how our game starts off here. I really like Tyrael for the fact that he is kind of in the same vein as Sonya. He's a bruiser more than a straight up warrior and a tank. As you can see here, I don't do well against ETC in a one-on-one situation. But we do manage to chase him back. Sergeant Hammer does a great job of that. I believe there's ETC. You can see him regenning slightly. Eldruin's Might is really nice for positioning, really good for... It does a decent amount of damage. I feel this is a terrible mistake by the enemy Sergeant Hammer. Going back there, because I can throw my hammer, and then I can totally block her in. As you can see, she can't actually get past me, even if she wants to. She could have gone around, but it would have meant getting a lot closer to our Sergeant Hammer and continuing to take shots from her. So it worked out really well for us. Teams are fairly even, unfortunately. We are slightly pulling ahead. I'm not really sure where they're leaking experience. My guess would be they're leaking it, just there where we killed Sergeant Hammer and we forced ETC back. I'm going to take a top shrine. The enemies do have the bottom shrine, but should end pretty quickly here. Sergeant Hammer has a very nice minefield there. She is using that to keep ETC back, do some damage while she runs away. We control both shrines now, which is really nice for us. Our Stitches is fighting Zagara in the middle, trying to secure the shrine. And then we have ETC trying to fight me and Sergeant Hammer at the same time. Just not very smart of him. I don't have anything off cooldown to finish these guys off, unfortunately. So that's not going to be happening. We do hold the shrine, which is very good for our team. Vala's on the bottom fighting Tychus, who will take the bottom shrine for the enemy. So far our team's pretty split up. Looks like Vala's having a lot of trouble on the bottom lane by herself. Sergeant Hammer's bombarding the enemy gate and those two outward towers, doing quite a bit of damage, and just really holding and strengthening our position here. Unfortunately, oh boy, this is going to be close for her. ETC comes out, and the enemy Sergeant Hammer had her in her sights. Bottom shrine is still taken by the enemy. ETC and Sergeant Hammer are doing their best. I believe he's peeling around, trying to push me into Sergeant Hammer's range. It's actually a really smart move. There, Sergeant Hammer runs into a minefield there, takes away half her health. Stitches is still fighting Zagara in the middle. Bottom lane's starting to get a little bit better. We have Vala, and I believe, I'm not sure who else is on it. I think it's Rhaegar versus Tyrael and Tychus on the enemy team. So looks like they take out Tychus. We have both shrines now. Stitches is uncontested in the middle. We should have a Dragon Knight coming up here in just a second. Dragon Knight is up. My team's going to crash on the middle. Ooh, we are about almost a full level up. Both teams are level 6. We will hit level 7 first, which will make us slightly more powerful for a few minutes, or probably more like 30 seconds. If we can use those level 7 talents to do a lot of damage. My thought process here was going for a very damage-heavy Tyrael build, because given the team compositions, if they don't have a way of negating a lot of damage. So if we can just deal more damage than they can, we should win the team fights. Because Rhaegar will be able to keep us up just enough. I shouldn't say if we can deal more damage than the enemy team, but if we can deal comparable amounts of damage as the enemy team. We should... Oh, Stitches goes down there right at the last second. Stitches is going to go down there. What was I saying? Oh, yes. If we can do comparable amounts of damage to the enemy as the enemy team, we should win. Because we have better support and better healing and damage negation than they do. We really need to back up. We're overstaying our welcome. With our Stitches down, this is a 4-on-5 fight that we are going into. And we only have about a half-level lead. So we do have slightly better stats. Our abilities do a little bit more damage than our enemies. But it is still 7 to 8. So it's not that big of an advantage for us. Sergeant Hammer's doing a great job of pushing that top lane. And everyone else on our team is actually picking up our knights. I don't think we need 3 people to take the knights necessarily. Probably is not a great decision to do that, but it works out pretty well for us. All things considered, both teams take their knights simultaneously. The enemy team is going to come in behind us because they did take those knights. They're trying to get us pinned. Sergeant Hammer uses her boost to get out of there. It is 4 up top to Tychus on bottom, so I'm going to... let's see, what can we do here? This is a really bad situation. This is a really powerful push that we have coming on the top. Both teams are level 9. Using the well here to heal up. Try and prepare for this push. Actually, yeah, in the game I was thinking that Sergeant Hammer and I could actually hold this push without losing too much. There goes Zagara. She's so close. ETC saves her just barely. His power slide comes in there. Stitches grabs Sergeant Hammer. She boosts out of there. She does have her her hover movement speed. As you can see her moving there while hovered, or while in siege mode. So she moves a lot slower that way, but she does a lot more damage. So it's a bit of a trade-off for power versus positioning. So she can get into a good position. She can do quite a bit of damage. We're going to take this. We have both shrines now. Stitches is in the middle fighting Vala. Hopefully he'll be able to do something. He's not fighting Vala. He's fighting Sergeant Hammer. Just push her back. Come on, grab the dragon, Stitches. They're actually collapsing onto Stitches to try and stop him. You can hear the stage dive sound effect there that ETC used to get in there. Looks like Vala and Rhaegar are moving in. Maybe we can get somebody. Eye Judgment onto Zagara. She does like a triple flip right there. ETC should go down too. Stitches comes in behind us and cleans up by securing the dragon. Great job on that. Mid fort should go down really, really well here. Given that 2 members of their team are dead and the others are out of position. I don't see Sergeant Hammer anywhere on the map, and Tyrael's in the bottom lane. Tychus popped out to try to do something. There's Tychus with his Odin, trying to do as much damage as possible. I feel like he was a little premature in that Odin, given the situation he was in. He probably could have stood behind the gate, done a pretty decent amount of damage with overkill and his grenade, and then gone into his Odin when he was about to die. The dragon's doing a great job. I take a shot from the... Oh gosh, I'm so dead here. Take a shot from Sergeant Hammer with her blunt force gun. Stitches pulls Tychus right out of my explosion. If he had just been 1 second later, we probably could have picked up another kill there. Sergeant Hammer takes out the top fort, does a great job of that. Doing what... one of the things that she's meant to build, or meant to do. She does a ton of siege damage, as you can see there, 21,000. But she can also do an incredibly large amount of healing, or a large amount of hero damage as well. As you can check out both teams' healing stats there. Ours is a little higher. That's to be expected, given that we have a Rhaegar. But our non-healers are actually doing negating quite a bit of damage themselves. Sergeant Hammer's doing a lot with her vampiric assault, and Rhaegar's doing a bit, or quite a bit, too, with his healing. Tyrael's doing a lot with the shields. ETC has his guitar solo. Or not ETC, Stitches, sorry. ETC does have his guitar solo to heal him up. But Stitches also has his self-heal, which is his E ability. I believe it's called Devour. So we're taking out these enemy giants in the bottom lane. I believe there's 3 up here. I'm going to charge in onto Sergeant Hammer. Rhaegar pops his Bloodlust, and we are cleaning the enemy team up. Hopefully my shield will go off here and do some damage. That is a talent that you can get with Tyrael. It does a lot. It's kind of like... oh, who is it from Dota 2? Man, my Dota 2 knowledge is really going out the door. Anyway, it's the Death Knight character from Dota 2. Abaddon, that's what it is. It's Abaddon. I'm thinking Abathur. No, that's Heroes of the Storm and StarCraft. It's Abaddon. So he actually will get a great, or the shield will explode when it times out or when it runs out of power. So that's a really nice touch right there. You can try and put on Tyrael to do a little bit more damage. Strafe goes down, but it's hitting just the gate and the towers. It's not doing anything. We should back up. This actually is not going to go very well for my team if we stay. We really do need to back up here. Rhaegar's almost dead. We take out ETC, which may give us a bit of an advantage. We don't take out ETC. Now we take out ETC. It's still 5 on 4, or now it's 5 on 4. Most of us are pretty dead, whereas the enemy team is pretty alive. Stitches dies there with, oh, this is not going to go well. This is what I was talking about where I was saying we need to get out. Stitches dies, and as soon as he's just dead, that blunt force gun comes through and rips our whole team apart. And we just need to get out of there as quickly as possible. We definitely overstayed our welcome. I do explode. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage to anyone. Top Shrine's already taken for the enemy. Hopefully Rhaegar can do something about... Ooh, this is bad. The enemy team, they've caught up in levels by wiping us right there, and they have a Dragon Knight. I believe it is Sergeant Hammer in the Dragon Knight. No, it's not too bad of a situation to put in. You can see those stats. Tyrael's more of a more balanced character, I would say. He does a decent amount of hero damage and a decent amount of healing. Looks like Vala's chasing down Tyke. She should be able to get him. That multi-shot goes off. Oh, Judgment on Vala just almost gets her. She not able to get Tyrael, and she ends up paying for it with her life. We're being a little bit too aggressive on my team. I feel like we've let the enemy team close the level gap completely on us, and they still have 3 forts they can use. I'm going to Judgment on to Zagara. Actually being a little bit too aggressive. That Maw may have saved my life. It forced the enemy team to stop focusing on me and forced them to focus on Stitches instead. So that Maw may have actually ended up saving my life. ETC gets a little bit aggressive, decides to come into the middle of our team. But we are still getting pushed back. It's not going too well. Sergeant Hammer gets grabbed by Stitches. Oh, ETC's going to jump in here. Probably not the smartest decision on his part, especially with his team deciding to retreat. He gets away regardless, so it didn't really matter in the long run. That hook was so close to grabbing Tyrael. Vala's coming in through the middle. All of the camps are up. We should pick those up. This decision to go for the enemy knights is based on the fact that we are ahead in number of people alive. So that if they try and contest this, theoretically we should have the advantage. Looks like a strafe goes off. And we managed to secure those knights. Get a great job of that. Sergeant Hammer's pushing. We didn't pick up any kills because the enemy team never really engaged fully on those knights, which is probably a good thing for them. It would have ended up doing a little bit more. It would have been a bad situation for them to put themselves in, rushing into a full 5-man team, 1 man down. We have Giants, Knights moving along top. My team is picking up our Knights as well to get double Knights going up top. While the enemy team is occupied with that, Sergeant Hammer and I are going to pick up the available Giants. Try and put as much pressure on every lane as possible. Doing what we can. Looks like Tychus comes around. He misses with his frag grenade. Hopefully we can secure both shrines. It's going to be pretty close. That top one. I think Tychus and Sergeant Hammer are down here. Maybe it's just Tychus and ETC. Sergeant Hammer is not there. Tychus is getting a couple of pot shots off. One of us should go kill that giant. He's doing a little bit too much damage. Sergeant Hammer is not the ideal person to take this, but if she had been a little bit faster, she could have gotten the dragon before the top shrine was lost. So it's always a trade-off of who you want on your team to take the dragon. A lot of times it's best to have your warrior, your beefy tank do it. I charge into Tychus there, kill him. Vala does a great job of softening him up for me before I can jump in there. I put up the shield. Tyrael's pushing Tyrael's pushing back the knights on the top lane. We have giants attacking the bottom. Bit of a lull in the game here. Maybe we can free the Dragon Knight. We'll be able to free the Dragon Knights. Sergeant Hammer kills the enemy Sergeant Hammer, but she's getting a bit greedy. ETC backs off. I'm kind of surprised about that. He backed off almost immediately, but Tyrael's coming in. Hopefully I can keep Sergeant Hammer alive. I don't think it's going to happen. It might happen, actually. Sergeant Hammer gets away with a boost. Rhaegar heals her up. And we now have a 4-on-2, where it was a 2-on-2 just a second ago. Very soon to be a 2-on-1, 5-on-1, in fact, right there, with Tyrael being grabbed by, not Sergeant Hammer, by Stitches. That's who that is. So what we're going to go here is attacking the mid, trying to take down this keep, letting our giants do as much damage as they can on the bottom. There's this really underrated aspect of this game, I feel like, is pressuring one lane with your heroes while mercenaries push a second lane. You're almost guaranteed to get some kind of kill because of some kind of keep or siege damage. The enemy team, for the most part, is going to focus on the lane where you have heroes. They're going to send pretty much all 5 of their players there. And we actually decide to move top because we've been doing so well that we can let these 2 giants clear the bottom on their own while we completely take the rest of their base. So this ends up being what should have been a 1, maybe a 2 keep loss, turns into a 3 keep loss by the enemy team. Oh, this is going to be pretty close if Rhaegar can get out of there, but if anybody can do it, it is Rhaegar. He has a great mobility. That insta mount ability is really, really nice. Looks like these giants are up. Giants on the bottom are up too. We should be able to do quite a bit of damage to the enemy core with these giants. We might even be able to end the game here any second now. Vala's moving around, rotating bottom. I'm going to help her out with those 2 giants. Sergeant Hammer's assisting our giants, but 4 members of the enemy team did come into the bottom lane to stop that. So if you look at our hero damage, I'm actually not very high on the top of that list. So Sergeant Hammer's moving around. Tychus is in the middle lane. Sergeant Hammer's somewhere in the mid here. Hopefully we can get her. She runs into the 4 of us, into our 4-man team here. I'm going to Judgment onto her to secure the kill. There goes the guard down. Judgment on our Sergeant Hammer does go off. Enemy Tyrael is about to blow up. He misses everybody. Tychus is trying to stay alive here. 4 members of the enemy team are dead. This is a complete wipe, a mega kill. And I feel like it was started by the fact that Sergeant Hammer decided to leave the security of her team and kind of go around those bushes. I think she was trying to get a better position, but we saw what was going on, so it ended up not working out for her. This keep is going to go down here. There's nothing they can do to stop it. They've got 20 seconds left before anyone on their team respawns. So there's absolutely nothing they can do to stop this. Hold on, I'm going to get ready to pull up the stats here, and we'll pause that. Take a look at what's going on here, see how we're doing. So we have an interesting thing on my team is, if you look at my hero damage, it's fairly low, 23,000. It's only the 3rd highest on my team, or it's actually the lowest on my team out of everyone but our support. But XP contribution for me is really high. It's actually the 2nd highest on the team. So mostly that would indicate that I was around for a lot of team fights. I was around for a lot of takedowns. As you can see here, I was around for 18 of them. But didn't actually contribute all that much to those fights, aside from maybe some control and maybe some some crowd control and some damage negation with the shields. If you take a look at our healing stats, so as within the last video with Murky, this is kind of the same thing, where you have 43,000 healing from Rhaegar alone, and that's actually higher than the rest of the team, the enemy team combined. So we have 1 player on our team negating the same amount of damage, or same amount of damage as the entire enemy team, and that lets us stick around longer, lets us deal more damage. Like I said in the last video, I'm pretty sure that the enemy team has higher DPS than we do, given that they have a Tychus and a Sergeant Hammer, and just those 2 alone should have more DPS than most other characters. And they actually have really, really balanced hero damage on their team. I mean, the lowest is 21,000 and the highest is 31,000. So no one member of their team was really standing out on the hero damage, but they are much more balanced than my team is. But I don't feel like that's actually a very strong strategy. I feel like having somebody like a Vala or a Sergeant Hammer, which are the two on our team, that could do a lot more damage than, say, Rhaegar, Stitches, or Tyrael, who are more based around healing and control, ends up working out a lot better because you secure people for kills. You make it so that they can't get away from your damage dealers. All things considered, I think it worked out pretty well, and my team is very, very well balanced. Not in terms of the amount of damage and healing that we've all negated, but in terms of actually having total healing and damage and XP contribution all across the board. Each hero is doing what they're supposed to do, and just worked out really, really well for this team. Hope you guys like this, and I'll see you guys later.